Hey y'all, I'm Eboni K. Williams here, host and attorney extraordinaire. Welcome to Holding Court, where we analyze the very latest in legal headlines, the ones that got all the streets talking. You know what we do? We dig deep into how the courts impact the culture. We break it down, going straight from gavel to your news feed. And every week, we keep it 100. Right, Dustin Ross?
That's right.
All right, Dustin. So I'm going to start today's show a little bit different.
Let's do it.
One of the things I love about our show that, you know, and each show gets their own flavor, their own recipe. But I love that we don't do a lot of crosstalk.
No, we don't.
Before we come in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of my favorite days.
Yes.
That we've not done any crosstalk because I'm getting it live like the rest of the jurors.
Let's talk about it.
Former President Donald Trump was...
Something happened.
Let's say something happened. Because I was going to say, I was struggling with how I wanted to frame it.
Because you're a truth teller.
Yeah.
Since they love those two words so much.
Yeah. The assassination attempt don't quite ring right with what I saw transpired. So let's go with something happened over the weekend at a Donald Trump rally. And I want to know from my co-host, Dustin Ross.
Yeah.
Thoughts, reactions.
It's less than 24 hours after whatever happened, and he was golfing. I seen him getting in a golf cart, and the side he sat down on leaned when he got in. So I just saw that today. So he's golfing.
That was
doing his
not
thing.
the weight of it all.
Yeah, the weight of it all. And by it, I mean him.
Right.
So, you know, he was golfing. Okay. And second of all, it just was the perfect opportunity for a photo op of him with his fist up and
then
being,
it went
you
to
know, to the white power.
Yeah, Nazi white
like
power salute.
So I'm not buying it, to say the least.
Nothing about that rundown surprises me.
Yeah.
That's about exactly what I anticipated. And it's not really far from my thoughts. So, first of all, I was enjoying my Sunday watching a very nice episode of House Hunters.
And continued to enjoy your Sunday.
I actually did. I took a good 5 minutes to try to ingest the facts as we knew them then. Because, you know, that's my stilo, Dustin. I really don't like to do a lot of speculating and forecasting and foretelling. And I'll return to the programming when we have more facts.
That's right.
So all we knew at first was there's this rally. There was some level of gun violence, and we didn't really know much more. We knew that Trump was alive. We saw a trickle of a very bright shade of blood.
And you know, as hateful and old as his saggy back ass is, you know that blood is dark. His blood is aubergine.
Yeah, I was a little surprised.
Okay.
Scarlet.
Okay.
Shut up.
Eggplant. Okay.
So very bright. And then eventually, of course, we found out there was an actual fatality. And I guess I want to start with that. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I guess I was thinking thoughts and prayers were for the man that was actually killed.
At best.
Yeah, like that to me was really the story. But for some reason, there's not been much about him.
Sacrificial lamb, darling.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is a registered Republican.
Of course.
Okay. All these accounts of his past are coming to the surface now, and him being
the actual shooter.
Yeah, the shooter.
The shooter who's also killed.
Yes. Excuse me. The shooter.
No, you're right. The shooter was killed.
Yeah.
So let me back it up. The other man, who I'm sure was also a Republican because he was there at the Trump rally with his family, father, husband, apparently he was trying to shield his family from the bullets. He did perish. I don't think any of us go to any events hoping for that outcome. So for that, I felt something.
Yeah, we're human.
But as it relates to Donald J. Trump, it's really not more complicated than you live by it, you die by it. For me, that was literally my first thought. Like, my thought wasn't of celebration, Dustin, but my thought also wasn't anything beyond if you told me a gang member was shot and killed.
Yeah.
If you told me that Don of a mafia organized family was gunned down.
It tracks.
You literally live by it. You have to die by it. And I'll tell you, and it goes both ways. You know, I'm a big Wire fan. So, you know, when Omar got put down, that was a sad day. No,
Yes,
that shit was sad. But also, big dog, it tracks. You live by it, you die by it. Let's go by one of my favorite film. I would call it a trilogy, but number 3 was so bad. The best cinematic duo of films ever, Godfather 1 and 2.
Oh my goodness, yes.
When Mo Green got that bullet in the eye.
Yes.
Even Old Man Roth said, I liked him, that was my boy, but I couldn't cry nor ask any questions about his murder. Because Mo talked and did a lot of shit in his life. And he got.
Yep.
That's what it gave me. And since we're quoting the legendary poets of R&B and soul, let me quote Brandy on it and say almost just doesn't count.
How about it?
It just doesn't. And that's really my real take on it, Dustin. It wasn't all these soliloquies, and it wasn't much more than that to me. It wasn't, and God bless the people that released statements, and everybody put out a statement, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
And I get it, especially those of us who have made a career out of being public. I don't know. Some of us are thought leaders. Some of us are experts. Some of us are political pundits, whatever it is, activists, whatever it is. I just knew I wasn't going to release anything in print. So the only thing I had to say, I was going to say it right here on our platform.
Where it belongs. Yeah.
And it's live by it, die by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
and ultimately you are the party. And you are the
he is the individual. He is the face of
violence in this country. You called for the execution of Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi.
You called for the execution of the exonerated 5. Let's
go all the way back.
Let's start there. You called for these 5 black / Afro-Latina boys, because that's what they were. They were boys, to be murdered at the state.
Yep.
And when all of the evidence, so much so that New York City had to pay them out. And New York City cheap as hell.
Yes.
So, when they paid, it was a real situation. Even when the evidence showed them to be not only not guilty, but innocent.
What statement did you release, bitch?
That you would still have them executed.
How about that?
Like you said, you call for the death of Mike Pence. You call for the shooting. Just shoot him in the legs of the George Floyd protesters. So this is not... we can make the broader framed argument of the party and the politics. This is the natural conclusion of this type. Nah, fuck all that. In this individual's case, you have quite literally called for the shooting, the beating up, the harm, the physical harm. I remember when he ran in 2016, Dustin, and he talked about there was some older gentleman who was protesting. They were like, he said right there in front of all these people, beat his ass.
Yeah.
Remember that? Beat his ass.
Yep.
Beat him up. Why is he still here? How is he still talking? That's y'all fault. Handle it. That is what the man has invited.
Inciting violence.
Called for it by name. So, again, live by it, die by it. Pour out some juice for the homie and keep it moving.
They said he grabbed his ear because he heard God say, somebody black gonna do the body.
Shut up.
So he grabbed his ear. Oh, that's what scared the shit out of him. Fuck the gun. Okay? Like I said, he was golfing today.
Well, he's not worried about it.
Yeah.
He's not worried about it. I'm telling you who else ain't worried about it at all. Barack Hussein Obama.
Thank
Barack,
God.
Barack has to be like, let me say this about our former president. Shout out to 44.
Yes.
Barack has been a trip to me the last 5 days. First of all, there's all this hoopla. We're going to get to the Biden of it all in just a second, and then we're going to run down our normal celebrity docket. But with the party in shambles, disarray, chaos.
Yes.
Barack gave us a Key and Peele skit reenactment. Barack said he having a good time at the NBA game courtside. Shaking. Listen, hugging, taking pictures and shit, looking good, looking moisturized.
That's right. Aging well.
Aging extremely. And it really could clearly not be bothered. And there's a part of me that's like, well, goddamn, sir. But then there's another part of me that's like, well, I guess he said I did my 8 years.
Also,
and
their family's grieving right now. They're still grieving the loss of Michelle's mom. You know what I mean?
I'm going to let you have that.
Yeah, we're going to give him that grace.
You going to give him that grace. I say he's hooping. You know, he always was a frustrated NBA player.
He was.
Him and Drake share that.
Yes. Yes.
Shout out to the biracial brothers.
Yes.
With NBA dreams.
Yes.
I'm saying be like Master P and just go try your ass out for a team.
Why not?
Because why not?
Why not? What else you gonna do? You know?
Might as well.
I put him on my starting 5.
Listen, I mean, if we're doing that with Bronny. Anyway, I'm gonna keep it all right here. But anyways, I think that is something to just note. When the former commander-in-chief, the former leader of the party, just by default, don't give a fuck, because clearly he don't. It's only so far I'm gonna go with it.
I never had plans to advance with it anyway.
I feel you on that, and that's more than fair. And that is more than fair. So that's it. That's all. Live by it, die by it, and then we're gonna move on from there.
He's moved on, so we should.
That's what I'm saying.
He's golfing.
Everybody involved has moved on. He's moved on, and this is just the moral decay of it all for me. Clearly, you were fine, Trump. We know that whether you were grazed by a bullet or it was a teleprompter glass, whatever it was a nick. You know, you get a nick. Okay, it was a nick like you get from your barber at most. But goddamn, you're not at this, the actual, there was someone killed. Yeah. One person, I will say, had some innocence here. You know, maybe came, you know, for whatever reason, but certainly didn't show up to get murdered. You know, and that's not cool at all. That actually, to me, like you said, we're all human. Right. That is tragic. Right. And if you are running for re-election of the leader of this free world, commander-in-chief, head of state, I would think you would at least go to this man's family house to offer your condolences. But no, you're at the golf course. I just want people to just look at it all. Yep. That's all. Okay. Moving forward, a docket story about this Biden step down. No, like for real. And there's a mechanism. We're going to talk about it. It's the 25th Amendment. Yep. You know? Some of you have seen some rumblings on social about it, or maybe you've read the actual periodicals about it. And some of y'all just out here talking. And when I say some of y'all, I'm talking about some of these congressmen and women as well. Okay, they're just talking like lay people, Dustin, like they don't know what the mechanism is. If you really about that life. So we'll talk about this notion of the calls for Biden to step down. Then we're going to get into the rest of the docket. This story is really important. I think it's kind of gotten lost in the rest of this political news cycle, but we need to talk about it. Shout out to Detroit. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, a brother there named Dwight Jackson. Nice, good black name. Much like Eboni K. Williams, Kiana. Dwight Jackson is suing a Detroit hotel. He says that he had filled out several job applications over the period of I believe, January to April of this year, trying to pursue employment. And he, by the way, we'll get to his resume. He's more than qualified for what he was applying for, and that matters. Didn't get one call, Dustin, not one interview, not one call back, not nothing. All of a sudden changed his name to a Eurocentric, white-sounding name. Got several interviews. He says something's rotten in Denmark. Something's afoot. Smells, sounds like, looks like racism. Him and his lawyer have filed suit, a civil rights action, a discrimination action around the discrepancy of what happens when I apply as Dwight Jackson versus this white name. Yeah. And I know too many of us, myself included, have had some variation of this experience. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So we're going to get into that. And then we're going to wrap up. It's going to be actually like a follow-up story, jurors. We talked about this last episode. First black Bachelorette Rachel Lindsay, attorney by trade, but now enjoys a very successful media career. She's going through a divorce, you know. Okay. And I just have to say, I mean, it's just so... Okay. And anyways, part of her divorce is her estranged husband, Brian, who is a chiropractor by trade, has claimed that he wanted $16,000 for spousal support each month. Now, we told you down the backstory. You have those facts. We have an update for you. So that's going to be last on our docket. Let's do it. All right, Dustin. I always like to get your take again, since we avoid the crosstalk during the week. As you have watched this groundswell, this rallying cry from some in the Democratic Party, many pundits, some of, somebody's favorite actors. Yeah. I'm talking about George Clooney. Yep. I'm talking about Michael Douglas roll his old ass on The View. I mean, dug him out. Listen. I thought he was still in the, I thought you were going to say the upper room. What? Where you thought he was? At this point, like that, we just going to leave him where he was. We're going to leave him where he was? Yes. I think he was somewhere wherever Jimmy Carter is. Yes, absolutely. Let's just say that. Hell. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, but Jimmy still kick. I don't know. If y'all feel this way, just go get Jimmy. Might as well, since we pulling him out. Yeah. Jimmy holding on for a reason. It might have been this moment. Absolutely. What if Jimmy came out and said, I got a sandwich for y'all. I got a peanut butter sandwich for y'all because I knew this day would come. Y'all denied me my second term when it was my rightful time, but I'm here to reclaim the throne. That's right. Hilarious. The sketch comedy in my mind. Yes. Anyway, Michael Douglas. Who else came out? Ashley Judd. Ashley Judd always talking about some shit. Always. She actually ran for office too a long time ago in Kentucky. I think she ran for Congress. I didn't know that. A lot of people with a lot of frustrated. And I think Clooney's one of them too. We know Matthew McConaughey is. Y'all got to watch the motivations too. Yeah. When you really know about these celebrities' backgrounds, these are people that have political ambitions of their own. So you can't just look at them as pure purists when it relates to democracy, or purists when it relates to the themes and values of the Democratic Party. Know that these people want political power in their own right.
They're not speaking he's not speaking as an actor.
No, he's speaking as an aspirant.
There you go.
Anyway, we got 20 Democrat congressional representatives, I believe, by this point, saying Biden step down. You've got a handful of A-list Oscar-winning actors. Now, just 2 months ago, Clooney, you were graciously accepting a presidential medal and donating millions of dollars, but now he's a threat to democracy. Okay. And then you have big donors. Speaking of money, follow the money. So, Dustin Ross, your perspective on why them, because it's a certain, notice how all these people kind of look alike that are calling for this step down of Biden. Why now? And what's the solution? Yeah. Have you heard any of them put forth a solution?
I have not. But I've heard them call for his removal from the bid, him not, running anymore. And I think that they all have their own reasons for doing that. But I think it's of note to recognize the fact that they're choosing a very vulnerable time, right? When people are passionate about what's going on and obviously seeing that this motherfucker is old, right?
And has been old, though.
But that's nothing new.
Right.
I think that people are playing on the intelligence of the voters and trying to just get people out of the way for whatever reason, to get whatever is most advantageous for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to get him out of the way, get the candidate that you feel is the best choice in position so that you can get these judges appointments, made that give you some sort of political advantage. That's it. Yeah.
And I think we have to name, Dustin, at least I feel it's important to name why they want to get certain people out the way. Because the certain people we're talking about, for me, is Kamala Harris. So it's almost exclusively white voices, and exclusively wealthy voices.
Yeah.
And it's almost exclusively male, but there are a handful of white women that have decided to take on this mantle. And like you say, why? Because we know that Joseph R. Biden was old when he was selected to run in 2020. Let's go back. There were many other candidates. That was a relatively crowded primary.
For sure.
Where was all of this tremendous support for this, exceptionally qualified black woman when she actually ran for the presidency? Right. Y'all do know this woman ran for the presidency, right? So I'm suspicious, is what I'm saying, Dustin. I'm not buying it, right? So I'm looking at it from that lens. I'm saying, what is the advantage, to your point, what is the political advantage of these particular moderate Democrats, because they all are from this kind of new moderate Democrat caucus, these white moderate Democrats in Congress, a couple of these aspirational politicians in Hollywood, because that's what they are, and then these massive donors that contribute, we're hearing 90 million being held up, people say, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. What could it be that they are trying to prevent? Well, I think it's very obvious to black women, which is why when you watch the coverage, y'all are seeing whether it's the great Maxine Waters, whether it's the legendary Jim Clyburn. Okay, they are the elders of the actual power structure of black politic from a establishment place. We know there's a grassroots play that's equally as important in my book, but from the political establishment, they are the dons and the dames. Okay. Then though, CNN, I know, shout out to Renee Marsh. She's a great reporter at CNN. She did like a focus group, Dustin, where they were in the black church and they were asking black voters in Georgia, which at this point we have to acknowledge is a bit of a swing state. There, it can go because right now Georgia has all of its federal representation is blue, from Joe Biden to Senator Warnock and Ossoff. Okay, so Georgia's legitimate in this conversation. What I mean is, it's not a foregone conclusion that it can't be viable.
Right.
Towards so when those black folks are asked, Dustin, they're very clear and they're very consistent. Now, I'm not saying every black person in Georgia, but by and large, young and old, men and women are saying, we're riding with Biden. We know he's old. We know he's barely propped up, a la Weekend at Bernie's situation. These things are known.
Yeah.
And we're saying, I don't give a damn. We're saying because if the worst thing that happens is Biden gets enough electoral votes to beat Trump in November of this year, we're talking about a matter of months. What, 4 months? 5 months? Not even? If he drops dead or is incapacitated the next day after inauguration or anytime during, then this wonderfully qualified, exceptional, great choice of Kamala Harris gets to be president anyway. That's what you don't have to be a scientific genius or a political scholar to understand this. Kamala Harris is president either way. So what could it be that they are trying so hard to make us bypass 14 million primary voters? Now, I believe, Dustin, the Democrats are running. Their main theme of running is to save democracy. Isn't that the main thing? Yep. Ain't that the thing on the main line?
Yep.
Is it Trump is such a threat to democracy and we have to vote to make sure that our children at least get to vote for somebody? Okay, so if we're doing that, tell me how you justify advocating the abandoning of 14 million primary voters who said, I want Joe Biden, old, frail, and all.
Talk about it.
Gaffes and all. Joe Biden is not new to gaffes. He's been making them since the inauguration speech, matter of fact. People be like, Joe crazy as hell, and we riding with him. Why are some people riding him? Because this is not about people just love Uncle Joe.
Not at all.
It's
and I'm
really
so
not.
glad you're highlighting that.
Yeah. No, say more on it.
Well, because to me, it's something that it should be unspoken virtually, right? You should get, without having to blatantly say it and plainly say it, that we're voting against Donald Trump.
We're voting against Donald Trump.
We're voting against everything that everything that comes along with him. As you can see now, his appointments are so detrimental to everything that we have a shot at. Just this morning, the judge, what was her name? Eileen, she dismissed the fucking case. In Florida. Well, we saw the shit in the boxes on the floor at Mar-a-Lago. We saw it. And they're saying, no, he did not. It was unconstitutional.
Sure. And all of this is coming off of what? What is she relying on? The just 2 weeks ago Supreme Court decision. Court decision. Trump had 3 appointees. Y'all know this by now. Where they've said that any United States president is immune from federal prosecution, including Trump, for anything that they deem
official acts.
Okay, so this is now all going on. And then let's not make it about loving Joe Biden, but let's make it about some of the things that have happened during this administration, such as the fact that Joe Biden, senile and all, incoherent and inconsistent and all, has managed to somehow, Dustin, appoint more black women. And yes, I'm a black woman and I'm interested in the advancement of black women. Yeah, I said it. Okay. This man has put more black women on the federal judiciary, from the circuit level, the appellate level, and the only black woman we've had on the Supreme Court level. And if you call that representative politics, you don't know enough to talk about it. Because it's not just this is not putting a black person at the head of HUD. Shout out to all the black HUD secretaries, because that's been a thing. But no, this actually does make a tremendous difference. Despite the numbers and the majority, the impact, a conscious, let me say that, because there's another black one on there that ain't got a conscious black lens is a difference maker for all of us. So he's put more on the courts, all of the presidents prior to him, including Obama. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Now, again, I think that they weren't really running on this, Dustin, because it wasn't as sexy of a topic. But now, all of a sudden, the Supreme, now some of y'all jurors that's been listening to Holding Court, y'all been hearing us talk about this for the better part of 2 years. But now, with the recent criminalizing homelessness, with the recent presidential immunity for all acts that are official, with some of these recent, overturning Roe v. Wade, now it's all eyes on the Supreme Court. Well, glad you caught up and glad you joined us, and I mean that for real. So that's one thing he's done. Again, has Biden done enough? Hell no. But can he do more with 4 more years? I believe so. It's important to note 60% of black wealth increase since COVID. Let me say it again, 60%. This is per the data, y'all. This is per the data. We've got the smallest margin of gap between black American wealth and white American wealth since the 1980s under this Biden administration.
Yep.
So y'all can sit up here and act like he has not done anything for Black America if you want to. And of course, the HBCU funding, everybody knows, but everybody dismisses because they say it's not enough. But I don't know. I guess if you go to an HBCU, it probably matters.
Yes, it does.
It probably matters. It probably matters. So my point is this. Biden has been old and decrepit since the day he took office. And yet the past 4 years, he's been able to do a few things. And this is just a little list. There's like 30 or 40 other big accomplishments that we can name, but it's going to, we'll do it over time. But I gave you about 3 or 4 that I think are very significant. And I'll give you some more each episode just to prove a point.
Yeah.
He's done some things. And Kamala Harris has been in the wings, this whole time. And she's done some things that have been important. She's broken more Senate ties than any other vice president in American history. And again, if you think it doesn't matter, look at the legislation. It's important. So no one's knocking Kamala Harris. But y'all don't miss the politics. If they take out, if they gas up Kamala and enough of the base to think, let's put Kamala on the ticket now. She runs. We all know she's going to lose. She's going to lose for several reasons. Least of them are her race and her gender. And then there's several other reasons why she'll lose. It's particularly, and when we say lose, we're not talking about y'all in New York and California that are excited about a generational change. We're talking about 7 states. They're swing states. And they are the ones that will decide who the next president is. Sorry to you, Illinois. So Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina. But there's a handful of what we call true swing states. Michigan.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, which is already sus because they are very, very, very upset as a state with Biden and Kamala Harris around their handling of Gaza and all things Middle East. So that's already probably not looking good for the Democrats. And if you think that Arizona, Nevada, and the Rust Belt known as Pennsylvania is going to vote for Kamala Harris when they didn't even vote for Hillary Clinton.
Let's talk about that part.
If you think these white moderates are going to put a Black woman in front of a white woman in America, y'all are crazy as hell. You're crazier than you look. And I guess I don't believe you're that crazy. So now I think it's sinister. Now I think that this is, like you said, you're playing in people's face and you think that we're going to be so flattered. See, this is a game of flattery to me, Dustin. I think they think that we're going to be so flattered and so dumb as to think, oh my God, what a great idea. Because it's been so often in American history that white folks have stepped aside to allow a Black woman to advance. I don't give a damn if you cooking fucking burgers on the line at Burger King. You're not even going to flip them burgers before this white woman. Look at your jobs, jurors. Look at where you work. Look at what you do for a living. Have you ever seen, look at CNN. Shout out to Laura Coates. Shout out to Abby Phillips.
Yeah.
Brilliant Ivy League educated women. And you know how many white men and women had to fail in terms of ratings and shows before they gave those 2 Black women who were overdue shows? And you gave it to them at the time where CNN's credibility and ratings were as dismal as they've ever been in the entire history since Ted Turner took a breath to say CNN.
Yep.
That is what they do, y'all. If y'all don't see this for what the fuck it is.
Pay attention.
And I'm talking to all of y'all. I'm talking to some of, our industry colleagues. I'm talking about anybody pushing this. Anybody pushing a narrative that says, let's just look at Kamala and think about her at the top of the ticket. You're either missing it or you're a part of something that's unsavory.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference between what we've been seeing both parties implement as far as a strategy, if you want to even call it that, right?
Absolutely.
Like, let's be real about this, because those Republicans, those dirty, filthy ass Republicans right now are setting things up. They're setting up the plays consistently. Democrats are having conversations that are feeling.
They're responding, and they're responding.
Yeah, and responding.
They're never playing offense. They're always playing defense. They're always playing defense, Dustin. And again, if y'all believe, and also who rolled out? I guess he came from the same rollout that Jimmy Carter's old ass came from, the same one that Michael Douglas. James Carville, sir. It's not 1992 and Clinton is not on the ticket. What the fuck are you talking about? See, y'all gotta David Axelrod.
Come on now.
Y'all look at this.
People don't research. They don't know any of the history.
And that's what I'm saying. People, a lot of people, and I mean, this is a good thing that more people are engaged in politics since 2008, since Obama. That's wonderful, Dustin. But if you know if you don't really know who James Carville really is, I want you to make note of that gap of knowledge. Because I know James Carville. I know the Raging Cajun. That's what they used to call him because he's from the Bayou. He's from where I'm from. See, I just, my skin is, you see, because I don't like this shit, Dustin. I don't like people playing in people's face and calling it sugar.
Yep.
You know?
And also, let's talk about the willful ignorance that we've seen from a lot of people that aren't even willing to take this type of information in and come to a conclusion.
No.
They just,
because they got some talking points. Some people got talking points. If y'all don't know, I'm here to tell you. Some people were saying some talking about. I'm looking at Jon Stewart and I'm indifferent about him in general, but why going so hard? Sir, why damn near in tears on your own podcast? I don't know if you saw this. He had Bakari Sellers on. Shout out to Bakari, who has been one of the very few consistent voices.
Yes.
That's just making fucking sense on this particular issue.
Friend of the show.
Absolutely. Friend of Holding Court. Absolutely. And a fellow Carolina brother, and shout out to South Carolina. He had Bakari on his show, and it was like this. He was like, Bakari, you don't understand, man. Like, my mom and her friends, Jon Stewart, they were crying after that debate with Biden because they are so terrified. They are so scared. It's called white fragility, John. Just relax. Because of what this country could be if we let a Trump win and Biden can't be the guy. And Bakari said, calm as hell. Well, let me tell you about my mama and her friends. No, that's literally what he said. He said, let me tell you about my mama and her friends. And let me tell you about their group chat. They thought the debate was horrible. They thought Biden looked ridiculous and weak. And they said, and we're going to the polls November 5th, and we're voting for Joseph Biden, who looked a fucking mess in that debate. Because we've been black women our whole lives. These are Bakari's our age. So Bakari's mama and her friends got to be in their 60s and 70s. These are black women who've been black women their whole lives. And they know enough to know about their lived experience. To know that there is no scenario in which Kamala Harris, qualified, lawyer, all this y'all talking about, is getting more electoral college votes. Because some of y'all forgot 2016, I guess. And you forgot it's not a popular vote situation. And by the way, Kamala's not even getting more of the popular vote than Hillary. But I digress. Bakari said, my mom and her friends know there's no way that this woman of color, black woman, whatever you want to call her, is getting more electoral votes than Joseph R. Biden, who has been in American politics for 40 years, who has relationships across the aisle, he can be a little bit of what you want him to be, meaning, okay, he's pro-choice on the record, but we also know he's a conservative Catholic in terms of this issue, and so we can feel a little better about going that way. We know he's a Democrat. We know that he's supposedly progressive on some of these racial issues, but we know he made sure Kamala black ass and her sister was not on that goddamn bus.
How about that?
Like, come on. All right, I'm gonna move on from it because we spent a lot of time on it, and we don't normally spend this much time, but it's worth it, and the policy and the politics of it and the legal aspect of it go together. The pressure is heating up. Now they're trying to push this man off a ticket. Oh, and I got so tied up, I forgot to tell y'all what I came to tell y'all. The 25th Amendment. I really did. So there is a mechanism. Instead of all y'all writing these fucking op-eds and talking all this shit and going on cable news and going on Wolf Blitzer's show and Jon Stewart's show and crying and shit. That's what I meant when I said nuck if you buck. Just go ahead and enact the 25th Amendment. That's what it's for. Y'all tried, some of y'all talked about doing it with Trump after January 6th. Yeah. Right? So when a president is either showing a level of inability or incapacitation or whatever it is, there is a mechanism to push this person off the ticket. So Joe Biden has been very clear. So all these calls for him to step down, the man has said a million times, and I don't even know why y'all keep acting like he's not clear. I think Brother Clyburn said something like, well, Joseph still has time to change his mind. And President Biden rather has time to. President Biden has been clear. I'm not stepping down. So if you want me out the way, make me. That's what Joe Biden said. Make me.
Clearly.
Make me. So there's a way to make him, y'all. Y'all act like there's not a way. There's a way. It's the 25th Amendment. It says that VP Harris, along with either the majority of Joe Biden's cabinet secretaries, which he selected, if everybody feels like he's so far gone, he's so incapable. Now, mind you, again, this is the same incapable, senile, degenerate who has managed to bring Black unemployment to record lows, who's managed to, for those of you that want to credit unemployment rates to presidential tenures, which I find skeptical, but if you want to do that, if we want to give credit to Trump because of what he did on it, well, then let's give credit to Biden for what he's done more successfully on it.
Yeah.
If you want to give credit to Trump for what he gave a lot of money to HBCUs, well, Joe Biden gave more money to HBCUs, and in Biden's case, the HBCUs actually got it. I know that because I've talked to these college presidents. Okay, shout out to Morris Brown.
Yes.
Shout out to Tennessee State. Okay. Shout out to Benedict.
Yes.
Where I hold an honorary degree. Anyways, let me move on from it. So let's just say that get majority of Joe Biden's cabinet, get Kamala Harris, and they can actually, with the votes, push him out of office. He can challenge him. There'll be a Senate congressional investigation that takes, I think, 90 days, something like that, or maybe 30 days. And then if everybody decides he's a threat, the enemies abroad are going to take advantage of us. They're going to pillage us. This is all a mess. We've got to get him. If he's that dangerous, invoke the 25th Amendment and let's keep it moving.
While you can.
Nuck if you are buck.
While you can, because if Joe Biden loses the election and Donald Trump gets into office, who's to say there'll even be a 25th Amendment?
No, they're going to remove it because Trump saw they tried to use it with him. The thing was, it was January 6th and he was out of office by the 20th. It was literally a matter of weeks. But, these types of mechanisms to hold power accountable will be gone. Great point, Dustin. Yep. Great point. Otherwise, Congress. Get the majority of Congress, the Democrats in Congress. It's 20 now. What's the majority? It's 200. Well, there's only 200 some more, y'all. If he's that dangerous, nuck if you buck. Act like it. Do something. Be about it. Stop talking. Oh, yeah, I don't want to do that. So, okay. So if you're not going to invoke the 25th Amendment and force the man off the ticket, he's clearly not getting off the ticket voluntarily. I really need y'all to shut the fuck up and get back on assignment.
And organize, yes.
Yeah, get back to this messaging. Get back to making sure that everybody's, okay, Trump got whatever the fuck, he nicked his ear, whatever it was. Now let's get back to Project 2025. Let's get back to the undoing of everything the Supreme Court is supposed to be about. Yep. And let's get back to the business of saving the nation, yes, but particularly the already reduced rights and positioning of Black Americans in this country.
For sure. And if you don't understand politics, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Because we don't have time for all that.
Absolutely. Okay? And I think some of y'all get mad when people say that. It's like, oh, it's not that I don't know. It's that the system. It quite
literally is that you don't know.
Right. The system is designed for me not to know. Be that as it may. I don't disagree with you. But the bottom line is you still don't know.
And that's what we're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to go to Detroit. Speaking of Michigan. What up, though? Shout out to the hometown kid.
That's right.
All right. This Black man, Dwight Jackson, is suing the Shinola Hotel in Detroit. And I did look it up because they call themselves a luxury hotel. I'm gonna give him that.
It's cool.
I'm gonna give him a 4-star. Okay. It's in the modern way of that. And they are a Detroit hotel. They're a boutique hotel. And they were listing some job opportunities. And brother Dwight Jackson applied for many of them. And didn't get a single call back. He changed the name to John Jabrowski. Very Jabrowski. Was it Polish? What is that? Ukrainian? Something very European. Very European. And all of a sudden, keep in mind, y'all, brother Dwight is a young man. He's 27 years old. When he changed his name to John Jabrowski, used the same resume. And it's important to know, on his resume, he's got 2 or 3 different experience plays where he has been front desk manager of the Marriott, one of the great Marriotts in the Detroit area, and a couple of other hotels. So this is not, fresh off the street. This is a man with a legitimate track record of high-end luxury hotel customer service. So he is qualified for these positions. Same resume, except for instead of Dwight Jackson, it says John Jabrowski. All of a sudden, the phone starts ringing. He's invited in for interviews. I love this. He actually goes in for the interview.
I love that part.
Can you imagine?
Very Detroit of him.
Very Detroit of him. Very Trading Places of him. And says, "What's up? What up, though?" All of a sudden, now that they see the face that comes with John Jabrowski, there's no offer. Okay, so at this point, he smells a rat. He rightfully does. And so he hires counsel, hires a lawyer, civil rights attorney, and he sues under the Michigan Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act. So this is a state civil rights act in which it prohibits discrimination on the basis of race and other things in the state of Michigan. The lawsuit reads, Jackson established that defendant's consideration of candidate was based on the racial appearance of the applicant's name. I'm going to depart for a second. Now, we've talked about this a little bit. You got a good name because they don't really know. In fact, 2-1, Dustin Ross is probably white.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's helped you ever?
Maybe. Growing up, I used to want my name to be a little bit more colorful.
You wanted to be Jabari?
Yes, DeQuante or something. You know what I'm saying? I wanted a little one, too.
Even Dante.
Yeah, I wanted something extra, but now I love my name, and it just kind of is, because what the fuck I'm going to do,
What you going to do about it? But is it something you've ever, especially early, I mean, now you're a known entity, you're a public figure. Let's go back to high school or early 20s. When you're just trying to get a little part-time something.
There were no other black Dustins. I'll just say it that way.
And you were aware of that. Well, I had quite the opposite experience. No, I'm just going to tell you what it is. Ebony with an I, either way, Ebony is always black. Although I have met like 2 or 3 biracial Ebonies, which is always interesting to me. And they always had white moms.
If I met a white woman named Ebony, I would laugh.
Like a full-on white woman, that would just be hilarious. Because that would be ridiculous. But I do know some biracial Ebonies. Shout out to the biracial Ebonies. But most of the Ebonies, obviously, are black women. And in fact, for a very long time, most of the Ebonies that I would run into in school or, as adolescents were deeper melanated women than me. I've actually been told that, like, you don't really look like an Ebony. I'm like, what the fuck that means? But of course, you live and you learn, and now I know what that means. It means that there's a certain narrative that goes with a black woman with the moniker Ebony.
I have a first cousin, a brilliant, smart, beautiful first cousin that I love dearly, named Ebony.
Her name is Ebony.
Yeah, so that name it resonates.
It carries. Yeah. It carries. Like to me, it's a moniker in which you have to kind of show up and present with a level of full throttle black womanhood, I believe.
Yeah.
And I believe I got that messaging early. And then the question for my own self was, can I live up to that? But then there was also this really shitty undercurrent of an Ebony being hood, this is when I was younger, being hood, being ghetto, being loud. Well, I certainly lived up to that part. But you know what I mean? All these, listen, okay. Run me the rate.
Okay, how about that?
But I was loud for free for many years.
Okay.
But yeah, like there is always a tell, and then it's Eboni Kiana Williams. I mean, come on. Like, to the point where at some point in my early professional career as a lawyer, my mom, jokingly, but not really jokingly, kind of apologized. Like, she said, girl, like, you know what? I really wasn't even thinking when I named you. She did. She said, I really wasn't thinking. Because Endeavor dawned on her at that time. I was born in 83. There's a reason that a lot of Ebonies are our age. Like your cousin, there's an Ebony that is a principal dancer, I believe, with one of the ballet companies here. Anyways, there's a reason that's a thing, and it's because of Ebony magazine in that era, and this kind of this Black is Beautiful movement in that generation. So anyways, Mom was like, damn, I didn't really think about but I thought about it. I'm telling you when I thought about it. When I was applying to law firms, coming out of law school, and knowing that they're getting inundated with all of these resumes from all of these law students all across the country. And at some point, there's a significant number of us that are in the top 10, 20% of our law school classes. So, because that's the first way they're supposed to slim it down. And now we have Rebecca. We have Sarah. We have Joe, Ben, Dave, and Eboni.
Yep.
And one sticks out. And listen, if y'all know what it is. So I've always been aware of this name thing, and it's not just anecdotal what you're saying and what I'm saying. We know there's data, right? So there's literal data that talks about the fact that people with black sounding names. And you know, how do you think these white people with black sounding names feel? Like, can you imagine if you were white named Darius?
How about that? I told her, listen, Dre.
Listen, it's a
thing. How about that?
Yeah. White girl named Keisha. Happens. Anyway, so if you have a black sounding name, male or female, because they did run it for both, that you get the least invites to interviews and professional progression. That's not news to anybody black. I'm just breaking it down. That is literally statistically has been studied, and it's a real thing. So back to Brother Jackson. Shortly after he went to the interview process, he was informed that he was no longer a viable candidate for the position. His attorney, Mr. John Marco, did confirm that this is they filed the suit, but I think this is important, y'all. It is hard to prove this, even though we know it happens. The data says it happens. To show enough facts and evidence that bridges the causation piece. See, this is the legal of it all. We can know it. We can all know it. But what you know and what you can prove are two different things.
Yep.
Okay. So even his lawyer, Brother Jackson's lawyer, says this is, I see it all the time. I do this work for a living. I'm passionate about this work. And oftentimes I'm unsuccessful in getting a verdict because it's very difficult to prove this causation piece in terms of name bias on discrimination. But the lawyer also says this. He wants to shed light on this problem so that it's not just isolated to the Shinola Hotel. This is not just isolated in Detroit or in the state of Michigan, but across the country. He wants to make sure that it doesn't happen to anyone else. So this is my big legal take on this, y'all. This is, I believe that this man was discriminated against. I believe that they heard his full name.
Darius Jackson.
Dwight.
Oh, Dwight. Yeah.
But that's why I had to look at it, because I knew it was a D something. I knew it was either Dre, Dante, Darius, or Dwight. And it's Dwight.
Yep.
But actually, I thought about Dwight Eisenhower. It's the Jackson. Because Jackson, Brown, and Williams.
You know what you're dealing with. You know
exactly what you're dealing with.
You can roll the dice. That is a...
Because if his name was Dwight Smith...
Hey, maybe
we don't know.
But Dwight
Jackson? It's that Jackson.
Baby, he danced to the beat, not the words.
That's it.
Okay.
So Brother Dwight Jackson, I believe, absolutely was pushed to the side because his name was Dwight Jackson and it was presumed he black. I believe that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And also, this is going to be tough to prove. I'm going to tell you why. One of the things is the hotel can rely on the fact that the applications with the different names were submitted at different times. And I believe that this is, at best, when you're reading the reporting on this case, Dustin, it's ambiguous. So if I'm the hotel, number one, I'm going to say, damn, I'm caught. So now what are our legal remedies? What are our legal options? Well, I could argue, bad faith or not, well, when Mr. Jackson applied as Dwight Jackson in January, February, and March, it was so many other applications that were even more qualified than him. That's why he didn't get a call back. Versus when John Jabrowski applied for the same job with the same resume, well, it was a different time and there was a different reaction to the posting and we got far less resumes. So therefore, Mr. Jabrowski was able to be considered quicker and we were able to call him in for interviews in a way that we weren't able to accommodate Mr. Jackson. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's difficult. It's very gray.
It's very gray. It's ambiguous about, and just all you need to get out of these types of discrimination cases, Dustin, from a defense standpoint, is just a little bit of gray area. That's all you need.
Yeah. Well, I also think changing your name is not, changing your name to see success as something you're pursuing of is nothing new.
No.
You don't believe me? You can ask Nimarata.
Oh. Not the good governor.
Nimarata Haley.
The good governor of South Carolina.
Why is your fucking name Nikki now? you know?
The first time I really remember this being a thing, Charlie Sheen. That's not Charlie Sheen's name. And he got it from his daddy, Martin Sheen. That's not his name either. They're the Estevez family.
And not no more Sheen.
But you know who rolled with it? Emilio
Estevez. That's right.
I remember being a kid and really realizing like, oh shit. And then of course we learned the more significant histories, right? Of all of the black people that have, changed names around this. We learned this of Jewish community. Many of them have changed names, as to not, be victims of anti-Semitism. Basically any culture, from Latina to Middle Eastern to all the things that are not white Anglo-Saxon have been sometimes forcibly, sometimes suggestively put in this position. And it's hard. It's another reminder of just how centered whiteness is in this nation, but relatively globally.
Yeah, for sure. So,
well, listen, thank God that Eboni K. Williams, and I'll say this as my last note on it. I do remember being conscious of the consequence, right, of walking around, and before you even engage with me or learn anything else about me, the first thing that you know about me from a paper standpoint is that I'm a black woman, period. And all of the presumption that comes with that. So then my challenge in life, Dustin, was, can I live up to it, like I talked about, but also can I challenge, right, what you think an ebony is, what you think an ebony looks like. And sometimes this goes for people that look like us, right? And I'm proud to say that I feel really, really good about it. I think it was a divine assignment from God to walk through life with the moniker Ebony. And I think I'm relatively proud of what I've been able to do with it. Yeah. And more proud of the other young ladies that like you said, that I've met that have reinforced the beauty, the power, the femininity, just the je ne sais quoi of what it is to be named Ebony or Keisha or Shaquana
or whatever the fuck their name is.
That is
unconventional.
That is unconventional, and make them say it right.
I don't think
and make
like
it and make them spell it right too.
I have the same, it's not the same. I have a similar experience with as a gay man, right? Like a black gay man.
Yeah,
people think that you are going to
look a certain way, sound a certain way, dress a certain way. Yeah.
So I love flipping that on his head.
Fucking him up.
Yeah.
Some people will say it's called fucking him up.
You got to do that, Sometimes you got to pop out and show niggas.
And sometimes it's fun.
Okay, that's right.
It's fun.
It's fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me tell you who not having fun. Last docket item, y'all. We're going to wrap this one up quick. Just a quick little update. Rachel Lindsay, first Black Bachelorette. Y'all remember we talked about her last episode. So quick facts. Rachel Lindsay's a lawyer by trade. She went on the show to find love. She did. She ended up marrying Brian Abasolo. He's a chiropractor by trade. These two got married without a prenup. Rachel has now been very public that is one of her regrets. Whew. We talked about it last week. Again, don't assume that us attorneys, even though that is our lock, stock, and barrel way of earning a living, but it doesn't make us immune to the perils of, let's say, doing dumb shit. Because I was going to say it different, but let's say it plain. Let's say it plain, doing dumb shit. I
support this sister, and I think she's an incredible talent, right? But I think it was quite dumb to meet a motherfucker on TV and not get a prenup. Like, what?
Yeah, no, it was very foolish. And Rachel says that now. She says, basically, don't be like me. And so, because at the time, it was believed, I think, on her part, that they were relatively equitable. But I love what you said last week, Dustin, which was they were never, ever. No, never, ever. So now, 4 years later, they're in the middle of a divorce. He says that he can't make any money. He moved across the country.
A white chiropractor.
Right. I think he's Cuban. A white presenting Cuban chiropractor had a thriving practice in Miami. At least that's what he sold her when they were dating and got married. All of a sudden now he says he can't even bring, it was something crazy, like $1,600 a month through the door or something nuts, because he claimed he abandoned his practice to run across the country to LA to support Rachel in her career. Her career is thriving. She's making $61,000 a month. This is all in the court documents, y'all, and he's not making $1,600. So to uphold their marital standard of living, he wanted $16,000 a month. Rachel actually, now this is interesting, not surprising. This is Rachel, I think, being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Said, okay, you know what, you're right. I am the superior earner. You are dependent on some level. You are right. I owe you spousal support. She was not ever fighting that, Dustin. She says, but as such, I'm going to cap it at, I think, like 9,999, right at 10 grand. Brian said, not enough. Now, I thought this was risky on his part. I'm going to tell you, because sometimes when you do that, not enough, that greed, as one could say that is, can leave you with 2,000 or 1,000 or nothing. So I actually thought that was a real possibility here. But turns out I was wrong. The judge felt that Brian proved enough of his case, but it's also not really like that profound. The judge did something pretty basic here. The judge says, okay, Miss Lindsay, you're not arguing the merits of spousal support. You're agreeing that you owe this man spousal support. We see that you offered him $10,000. He rejected that. By the way, in real life, I know another couple. These are not famous people. These are just, well-to-do professionals. And the woman offered 10 grand and the man said not enough. They're dealing with this. So this is not, like, I think people see this, Dustin, and they think, oh, this is just because she's a bit famous. Or no, this is happening for real. Anyway, he rejected the $10,000, said, no, I want 16. He wasn't asking for 30. He was asking for 16. And the judge essentially split the difference. And said, what is halfway between 10 and 16? 13,000. And that's what he got. So he is now going to be paid by Rachel temporary. So that's interesting. I would love to know the term
me too.
Of when this expires. Without more information, I would have to assume it expires when they're going to have, if I'm the judge, I would set a court date, probably 8 months to 12 months from now, and say, I want to see you back in my courtroom, sir, and I want to see your financials, and I want to see where your earnings are so we can adjust or eliminate this temporary spousal support. Now, if he's a raggedy motherfucker, which he very well may be, then you start doing things to suppress your income.
Like he's doing now. Because you mean to tell me he can't get his ass up and go to work in California? Or
how about move your ass back to Florida?
To where your practice was thriving.
Yeah, because if you were only in Cali for the marriage and the marriage is done because you actually filed for the divorce, sir, it's time to go back home, Caliente.
I'm not buying it. I think that he is definitely trying to get a money grab out this situation. He was never into her. He was on that show in the first place, which to me says a lot. And so I just know. Yeah.
And then with the aesthetic too, like like The Bachelor, and y'all know this now because everything is so on Front Street, but we've known for a long time. All of these dating shows are casted. This is not about finding love. This is not about that may happen for a handful, but you better know that this is, because this stuff is on Central Casting. It's on the casting websites.
It's a fully produced television show for entertainment.
Literally.
So remember that.
Who was attracted to it are people that already have headshots and comp cards and resumes who are looking for televised success.
Who want to be seen.
Literally. All right. So with that said, Rachel's got to pay him 13 grand a month temporarily for the foreseeable future. And this made me mad. She also has to pay, I think, 20 grand or 15 grand for his lawyers and 5,000 for something else. So she's got to give him a lump sum of like 20K. And I was just like, damn, so while I very much so hate to see this, it is a cautionary tale. I appreciate Rachel's transparency as to say, don't be like me. Ladies, gentlemen, whoever you are, if you are in a situation where you're about to get married, get that prenup.
For sure.
Get that prenup. And again, we talk about it on Holding Court. Prenups can be pierced. They can be undermined, but they're a great starting point. How great is it to go to court, Dustin, and say, Your Honor, we're going to hear everything out, but I need you to first know.
This is what we
This is where we started. This was the agreed upon terms when we entered into this marriage.
Yeah. The optics of this white presenting doctor getting over on this black girl, I don't like it.
I don't like it. And I don't like the comments that I see of some, sad to say, some men that look like us, some dusties, are celebrating it as a gotcha moment. As like, oh, you went outside the race to marry and you thought you were too good for black men. This is what you get. I'm seeing a lot of that too. And it's real raggedy.
God bless you, Rachel.
Yeah, and God bless Black women and their prosperity.
Because there are so many Black women who are earning $61,000 and more monthly who are not celebrities.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Speaking to what you said.
Yes, this is a woman that is not a celebrity. She just is a hardworking, very successful Black woman. And in this case, married to a successful, educated Black man. And he's mad that she's moving on. And now he's making her literally pay for it.
Yep.
It's fucked up. And they share a child together in that case. Anyways, moving on. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for staying with us today on this episode of Holding Court. It was a little bit unconventional compared to what we normally do here, but well worth it. I hope you feel. Dustin, you out here in your hoochie daddy shorts. You going kayaking or some shit after this? What you doing?
I'm just going to go outside and do what they call selling it. Okay, I'm going to just walk around this motherfucker. That's what I'm going to do. It's hot outside.
Well, may the highest bidder win.
It's hot outside, so you should go be hot while you're outside.
Come on, Hot Boy Summer. Let's do that.
Yes.
All right, y'all. We'll be back next week. As you know, in the meantime, stay safe. I guess get you some hoochie daddy or hoochie mama shorts, whatever makes you sell it. And what you want the people to do till next time, dude.
Not only read your terms and conditions, but come up with some. Okay, so you don't end up like Rachel,
Listen, add to the document, says Dustin.
Yeah.
Holding Court is produced by Uppity Productions. Host and executive producers here, Eboni K. Williams, yours truly, and the Dustin Ross. Executive producer in Dossie, McCraw. Our senior producer, Ashley Hobbs. Creative consultant, Jay Kleinberg. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any and everywhere you get your podcast.